Darkness, pressure capable of crushing a submarine. Something is moving down there, in the depths. Are you sure you want to see this? I will dive to where the sun's rays don't reach and show who truly rules the ocean. Stay tuned. The scariest part is yet to come. The creepiest face in the ocean. Let's imagine you're descending into the dark waters, off the coast of Australia. Deep, deep down, where sunlight doesn't reach. And suddenly, a face, with sad eyes, a fleshy nose, and an expression of eternal melancholy appears before you. This is not a monster from horror movies, it's a blobfish, a creature that evolution seems to have created, in a bad mood. It lives at depths ranging from 600 to 1200 meters. Its gelatinous body resembles jelly left out in the sun, shapeless, pale, and slightly sagging. But the main thing is its face. A huge nose resembling a human's, and eyes so full of sadness that it seems as if the fish just lost the entire ocean in a casino. It's about the size of a large loaf of bread, around 30 centimeters, but it makes an impression like a 3-meter shark. And it looks so sad because of the pressure. At the depth where the blobfish lives, the pressure is 100 times higher than at the surface. Ordinary fish would be crushed there, like a soda can under a truck wheel. But our heroine has adapted. Its body is made of a gelatinous mass that is lighter than water. It has neither a swim bladder nor strong muscles. Even its skeleton is more like wet noodles. But the strangest thing is its facial expression. When the blobfish is brought to the surface, its body deforms due to the pressure change, turning into that very sad jelly that conquered the internet. The blobfish is a lazy predator. It doesn't chase after prey but simply sits on the bottom and waits for something edible to swim by, small crustaceans, mollusks, or even sea urchins. Interesting fact, the blobfish doesn't have a single shark tooth. Its jaws are more like old rubber. It simply sucks in its prey like a vacuum cleaner. What would happen if you encountered it in the water? Nothing. First of all, it lives too deep. Secondly, even if it could bite, it has no teeth. Thirdly, it's too busy being sad about the meaning of life. If after this chapter you feel like hugging a blobfish and telling it everything will be okay, you're not alone. But don't rush. There are many more creatures ahead that you should never hug. Glowing death. At a depth of 1,000 meters, where eternal night reigns, dwells a creature seemingly straight out of a science fiction nightmare. The viperfish is a 30-centimeter predator with teeth resembling sewing needles, and a body covered in bioluminescent spots. Not a fish, but a nightmare of the ocean. Literally. Imagine a creature with a head that is 2/3 jaws. The teeth are so long that they don't fit in the mouth. They curve backward like a snake's, only sharper. The body is covered in black scales that absorb light, and along the sides, there's a row of glowing organs. This is not decoration, it's a deadly lure. The viperfish is a flawless killing machine, crafted by the depths over millions of years of evolution. Its coal black body dissolves into the darkness, making the predator invisible until the last moment. And the bioluminescent spots function as a deadly deception. The unsuspecting prey swims towards the light, mistaking it for safe plankton. The teeth easily pierce through the victim. Add to this a lightning-fast strike that takes fractions of a second, and you have the perfect hunter, turning the eternal darkness into its kingdom. There is no room for mistakes here. Only precise calculation, a glowing trap, and guaranteed death for anyone who dares to come close. An interesting fact to lighten the mood, young individuals have special luminous organs on their fins, presumably for recognizing their kin in the dark. You can imagine an underwater disco club, where instead of music, there's silence, and instead of dancers, there are deadly predators. If after this chapter, you feel like checking for something glowing in the dark corner of the room, I understand you. But don't worry, viperfish can't walk on land. Not yet anyway. Trap from the abyss. In absolute darkness, at a depth where the pressure can crush a submarine, there dwells a creature that defies all the laws of nature. The anglerfish is living proof that evolution sometimes takes truly terrifying forms. Its body is a crude mockery of the usual notions of fish. Flattened, covered with growths and bumps, it resembles a piece of the ocean floor that suddenly came to life and decided to kill. The size of a large dog, this predator carries a nightmarish structure on its head, a long appendage with a glowing lure at the end. The hunting mechanism has been perfected over millions of years. In complete darkness, a solitary light flickers, resembling the glow of a deep-sea worm. The prey, attracted by the flickering, approaches, and then from the darkness, a mouth opens up huge, taking up half of the body, lined with inward curving teeth. One movement is enough, and the prey disappears into the black abyss of the stomach. The teeth of the anglerfish are a separate masterpiece of evolutionary cruelty. Thin, sharp, and inward pointing, they leave the prey with no chance of escape. They don't chew, but hold the prey while the fish slowly slides down the esophagus. But the true horror lies in the reproduction of this species. Males, dwarfs compared to females, find a mate by pheromones and permanently attach themselves to her body. Gradually, their organs atrophy, leaving only the reproductive system. The two organisms merge into one, eerie symbiosis, turning reproduction into a parasitic nightmare. In some areas of the Atlantic Ocean, these creatures gather by the dozens. The absolute darkness of the Atlantic depths, with countless flickering lights within it. Each one is a deadly trap. Each conceals a mouth capable of swallowing prey whole. The anglerfish does not hunt. It waits. It knows that hunger will eventually force the victim to make a fatal mistake. In this world, there is no speed, no chase, only endless patience and cold calculation. Killer tentacles. In the icy mist, at a depth where sunlight does not reach, lies a creature that inspired legends of the Kraken. The giant squid, a living embodiment of a sea nightmare, reaching up to 14 meters in length, with tentacles capable of wrapping around a small vessel. Its eyes, the size of a dinner plate, can see in the dark what humans cannot discern even in bright light. The body of this monster is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Soft, flexible, yet permeated with powerful muscles, it allows for incredible speed in the depths of the water. Each of its 8 tentacles is covered with hundreds of suckers surrounded by chitinous rings with teeth. One touch, and the victim's flesh is covered with bloody streaks from these miniature saws. The hunt of the giant squid is a spectacle from which the blood runs cold. Using bioluminescence and the ability to instantly change color, it turns into a ghost appearing out of nowhere. Its strategy is simple: blind, entangle, drag into the depths. Orcas and sperm whales, when encountering an adult specimen, often end up with deep scars, evidence of desperate battles in the underwater darkness. What happens if a human finds themselves near this creature? Unlike smaller squids, the giant does not see us as prey. But its defensive reaction can be deadly. Tentacles capable of breaking a seal's spine can easily break bones. And a beak, similar to a parrot's but the size of a soccer ball, can snap a steel cable as thick as a finger. But the most terrifying thing is their intelligence. The eyes of the giant squid are the most advanced in the animal kingdom. Its nervous system allows it to process information instantly. And a 3-kilogram brain, a record among invertebrates, suggests that we are dealing not just with a predator, but with a thinking creature whose motives are not entirely clear to us. An underwater guillotine. 380 million years ago, when the first trees were just beginning to grow. On land, the oceans already belonged to a true monster. Dunkleistus, a 6-meter fish whose name translates to bony mouth, was a perfect weapon of mass destruction. Its armored head made up a third of its body, and its jaws exerted a pressure of 5 tons per square centimeter, enough to bite a medium-sized shark in half. Imagine a creature the size of a minivan, covered in bony plates 5 centimeters thick. Its eyes, encased in bony goggles, saw the world through narrow slits, and its mouth was a set of bony plates that had turned into sharp blades. These are not teeth in the usual sense, but rather a guillotine of flesh and bone, capable of slicing prey into pieces with a single motion. The attack mechanism of Dunkleistus still sparks debate among scientists. Modern research suggests that it could open its mouth in 1/50th of a second faster than a human eye blinks. The bite force was stronger than that of a Tyrannosaurus, and the speed of its attack is compared to a crossbow shot. Even its own kind became its victims. Many fossil remains show characteristic bite marks. Unlike modern predators, Dunkleistus did not chew its prey. Its jaws work like scissors, slicing the victim into pieces that were then sucked inside. Imagine a fish capable of biting a human in half while wearing a bulletproof vest, and you'll get an approximate idea of the power of this creature. The bony plates covering the head and front part of the body were practically invulnerable to attacks from other predators. Modern tests have shown that it would take a direct hit from a medieval crossbow to penetrate such protection. Dunkleistus was a tank of the Devonian period, slow, clumsy, but absolutely invulnerable. Interestingly, this monster was probably somewhat blind. Its eyes, protected by bony plates, had a limited field of vision. But in the murky waters of the Devonian seas, it relied not on sight, but on sensitivity to water vibrations. Once it sensed prey, the Dunkleistus would turn into a living battering ram, leaving the victim no chance of escape. Comparisons with modern predators only highlight its uniqueness. If the great white shark is a scalpel, then the Dunkleistus was a blacksmith's hammer. Modern fish needed 5 mass extinctions to develop anything even remotely similar to this ancient death machine. The shadow of Mesozoic waters. 160 million years ago, when dinosaurs dominated the land, a far more terrifying predator ruled the oceans unchallenged. The Liopluron, a 25-meter-long marine reptile, whose name means smooth-toothed, was a living torpedo weighing 150 tons. Its 4-meter jaws, lined with 20-centimeter teeth, could snap a steel cable as thick as a grown man's arm. The body of the Liopluron was the perfect killing machine. 4 powerful flippers, each the size of a car, allowed it to reach speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour, an incredible feat for a creature of such size. Its streamlined body, devoid of protruding parts, made it resemble a giant underwater arrow. But the real terror lay in its hunting strategy. Unlike modern crocodiles, the Liopluron did not grab its prey to drag it underwater. It attacked at full speed, slicing its prey in half with a single precise strike. Its bite force is estimated at 30 tons, enough to crush a small car. The skull of the Liopluron, which reached 3 meters in length, contained a complex system of nasal passages, allowing it to detect scents from a distance of many kilometers. And its eyes, accustomed to murky water, could detect movement even in almost complete darkness. Of particular interest is the breathing method of this monster. Like all plesiosaurs, the Liopluron had to regularly surface for air, but the structure of its nostrils allowed it to do so as discreetly as possible, barely exposing the tip of its snout above the water. Imagine a hunt where a predator the size of a blue whale sneaks up on its prey like a submarine. The fossilized remains of Liopluron's victims tell gruesome stories. On the bones of ichthyosaurs, they find characteristic tooth marks, deep parallel grooves, indicating that the reptile didn't just bite, but literally sawed its prey with its teeth. Some findings show that it could tear chunks of flesh by shaking its head from side to side, like modern crocodiles. A prehistoric nightmare. 23 million years ago, in the warm waters of the world's oceans, a predator appeared that makes all modern monsters pale in comparison. Megalodon, an 18-meter shark weighing 60 tons, whose 3-meter jaws crushed whales like a tin can. A creature whose vertebrae are comparable in size to large dinner plates. Teeth reaching 18 centimeters in length could completely cover an adult man's palm. The body was like 2 buses, and the bite force was 10 times stronger than that of a great white shark. The hunting mechanism of the Megalodon was perfected by evolution. Unlike modern sharks, it did not bite its prey, it literally sliced it in half. Its teeth, which had a perfect triangular shape with fine serrations along the edges, work like giant scissors. Paleontologists have found bones of ancient whales with perfectly smooth cuts, traces of a single bite from this monster. A special horror is caused by the attack strategy of the Megalodon. By studying fossilized remains, scientists have come to the conclusion that it primarily attacked the rib cage and fins of its prey. First, a blow from below, breaking the ribs and damaging the lungs. Then, biting off the tail fin, depriving the prey of the ability to escape. And finally, calmly consuming the immobilized prey. A comparison with modern predators only emphasizes its power. If the great white shark is a hunting knife, then the Megalodon was a chainsaw. Its jaws, 2 meters wide, could swallow a person whole without even chewing, and a stomach with a capacity of 10,000 liters allowed it to consume up to 2 tons of meat at a time. But the most frightening thing is the possible reasons for its extinction. 3 million years ago, the Megalodon suddenly disappeared from ocean waters. Some scientists suggest that it became a victim of its own perfection. Having exterminated most of the large prey, these giants simply died of starvation. Others find evidence in geological layers of a sharp cooling, which killed off the warm-loving monsters. And yet, in the ocean depths, Megalodon teeth are still being found, which are no more than 10,000 years old. Fishermen tell stories of giant creatures surfacing from the depths. Oceanographers record sharks of incredible sizes, quickly disappearing into the dark water. What if the Megalodon didn't go extinct? What if it simply retreated to those depths where our submersibles can't reach? To those cold abysses where time seems to have stopped and evolution has stalled? A sleeping god. In the deepest crevices of the Pacific Ocean, there, where no researcher's foot has stepped, perhaps, lies something that shouldn't exist. Cthulhu, an ancient deity from the works of Lovecraft, a creature of such size and terrifying anatomy that the very thought of it makes the mind shudder. A being with an octopus-like head, sitting on a humanoid body covered in scales. Its wings, resembling the leathery membrane of a bat, stretch for hundreds of meters, and its body pulsates with an unnatural greenish light. According to descriptions, when Cthulhu stirs in its sleep, tsunami waves rise over the ocean, and people all over the world are tormented by identical nightmares. Could such a creature actually exist on this planet? From a scientific standpoint, no. But strange facts make one wonder. In 1928, a year after Lovecraft's story was published, seismographs recorded strange underwater tremors. At the coordinates 47 degrees south latitude and 126 degrees west longitude, exactly where the writer placed the sunken city of Laia. In 1990, 7th Naval Forces recorded an unidentified, low-frequency sound named. Its source had enough energy to sink an aircraft carrier, and the nature of the sound resembled a biological entity rather than a geological process. Officially, it was explained as the cracking of icebergs. What will happen if Cthulhu awakens? According to legend, his awakening will bring madness to the world. Modern neurobiologists confirm that there are infrasound frequencies capable of causing panic and hallucinations in people. Oceanographers admit that we have explored less than 5% of the ocean floor. But the most eerie question is, why does the image of Cthulhu appear in myths that are completely unrelated to cultures? Polynesian fishermen speak of Tangaroa the Destroyer, whose appearance is remarkably similar to Lovecraft's description. In old Icelandic sagas, there is mention of Hafkufa, a sea monster that drives those who see it insane. Perhaps Cthulhu is just a myth. Perhaps it's a collective nightmare of humanity. But we will only know the truth when the ocean waves bring to our shores green slime with alien DNA, and people all over the world start having the same dreams. And then it will turn out that the Megalodon and giant squids were just small fish compared to what truly lurks in the abyss. Conclusion. The ocean holds far more secrets than we can imagine, from the eerie Blobfish to the legendary Cthulhu in its depths, lurking creatures that defy our understanding of reality. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of underwater nightmares, subscribe and hit the bell to not miss new investigations. The ocean doesn't forgive mistakes, but it loves the curious. See you in the next video.